Counselor Walton.
Here.
Counselor Wilkerson.
Here.
Counselor James. Here. Counselor Harden.
Here.
Counselor Mills. Here. Everybody's here. You have a quorum.
Okay, so I will just entertain a motion to dispense the reading and approve the minutes from the Public Safety Committee meeting on November 1st. Second. Wait, is the motion? Okay. Counselor Jones and Counselor Harden, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries 5-0. We have no items under old business. Under new business, we have one item, 06-1121, request for consideration of a resolution requesting the Alabama legislature to authorize 2 entertainment districts, one in West Homewood Business District and one in the Edgewood Business District. Councilors Gwaltney, Alamont, and Wolverton. I got that. Smith maps. So just a little background on what this is. This item is intended to, so at the class of city that we are in the city of Homewood, we're allowed to have 2 entertainment districts. And when we went down this road for the entertainment districts back, what, 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now, we decided not to include Edgewood in lieu of excluding West Homewood, so that we weren't picking or choosing any kind of favorites. And we were allowing just basically to be equitable to all the businesses in those 2 areas. So we do have one entertainment district that is available. However, much like other cities around us, if you decide to do more than one, more than that additional one, 2, you have to seek legislative approval from the state of Alabama. So what this agenda item is us submitting to the state of Alabama for that additional 3rd entertainment district, which would cover West Homewood or the Edgewood Business District, depending on how you look at it. And part of that submission to the legislature for approval includes the map, so we can define the terms of it. What is not defined on this item are items like, some of which are defined by our ordinances, are the use of the businesses, which is determined by zoning, the hours of operation, which is determined by our ordinances, and the items that are defined in the entertainment district, like the hours that, the entertainment district is active, the days that it's active, and the map itself, which is included. Those will be determined at a future date in committee, passed by council. So this item is strictly for submission to the state of Alabama. So members of the committee or council that are here, and we'll take questions from the public as well momentarily. Questions are from the committee.
I would love to hear from law enforcement. Do we have any? Like as to any, since we established an entertainment district downtown, and what have we seen? Have there been any incidents? None that I'm aware of. So I just want to make that clear, right? In terms of when we're talking about these entertainment districts, and we have concerns about what is the potential consequences of establishing one, we have one now. So that's just a way to potentially alleviate any potential concern that any resident may have. And the intention here is to promote business. But I appreciate that. And unless you have any other insights.
Yeah, it's I think it's a program. Definitely used in other cities and learned a little bit from it. As of yet, I've seen no drawbacks to what we've done. I don't, in all world.
Councilor Jones.
Just a question. So walk me through the process. So we go to the legislature and they take 5 years to approve this. What is our process?
Do you need anything else, or do you want?
Either way.
So how about fill the gaps? Because I'm sure I'll
No problem.
So we decide what path we want to take, whether we want to approve or disapprove this item. If we choose to approve it, we take the map and it is submitted to the Jefferson County delegation, and they will sponsor it. I believe it goes in the trade and tourism. I forget which committee it goes to, but it goes to committee for approval with the legislature with the map attached to the item. Once it's approved by the legislature, it comes back to us for the designations around the hours, the days.
Yeah, what the legislature does is essentially authorizes us to enact it. And so what this item is doing is requesting the legislature to provide that authorization. They want the map in order to provide that authorization. So that's why the map becomes important. But then it would come back to us to decide whether or not to do it or to, fill in the details and to fill in the details.
I suggest that the resolution say, should refer to the West Indian Entertainment District as the Edgewood Entertainment District.
Correct.
All right, any other questions from committee or council members? Councilor Sims?
Two questions. First of all, I think there's a requirement for number of licenses per district.
That's
and
correct.
It's
It
worth
has.
making sure that both boundaries contain.
Yeah, I believe it's 3 or 4.
It's 4,
And we
both,
vetted,
both contain 4.
Fantastic. Just wanted to check on that. 'Cause I wasn't sure about where the licenses were located. Just seeing that. And also, is there any consideration to basically looking at the map containing the, especially since these are tighter events, like the frontage and the right of way in the front in these districts versus parcels which are private land which go towards the back more. And more what I'm thinking is just basically just keeping the zone tighter so that, you know, there's nothing going on in the back of the building that you know, that has to be part of the police because the district also pushed the back. So,
I don't know the answer to that question, whether that can be done legally, and of course, I don't know if you can divide the parcel with the line.
Set the property line.
Yeah, the idea with this is that it's going according to the property line, so that the property will be included, which would, just as a practical matter, I would think, go, you know, that every owner has a front door and a back door, and I think the idea is that it would go, you know, any activity would be the area out in front of the business. But I understand what you're saying. I just don't know if we can divide it, a property with this.
well, I guess it maybe I'm rationalizing this incorrectly, but I was thinking that the district needs to cover the right of way for like the cafe areas, say in front of like Pocket Mama and
Right.
Otoco Day and those other areas, that the business themselves would already be licensed and covered in the interior. So therefore, that parcel, this private property would need to be included. But I mean, it's a question.
You lost me there. I'm sorry.
Okay,
So- I was gonna, never mind.
If you understand them, that's fine.
So it seems to me the intent of an entertainment district is that there's open container allowed in like the public space, say the cafe seating in front of Edgewood Creamery and Taco Mama and so forth. Right. And the inclusion of the private property, so like, is for what reason?
So what an entertainment district actually does is it allows the businesses within that to apply for a different kind of license with the ABC board. That's all it does. So you have to include that business in the district. Otherwise, it can't apply for that license with the license for the ABC board, which allows them to serve and allows it to go beyond their property line to the area that's out in front of Taco Mama or. So anyway, is that answer the question?
That does.
Okay.
That's great.
It's less about defining an area than it is for the purposes of being able to walk around than it is the businesses within that area that can apply for that different kind of license.
And just to clarify too, because I know we've talked about this when the questions come up, and I just want to reiterate this is really only consideration for an open container to be in that area. There's no additional language in the ordinance somehow then turns around and promote, like you said, Councilor Walton, it doesn't change zoning, it doesn't do anything else as far as like trying to change an area into, you know,
Correct.
a party zone. We're really talking about an open container zone.
Correct.
And that's a really good point, because I received an email today just asking for clarification about that, because they were like, I don't want a strip club to show up in Edgewood. And I was like, absolutely not. That's not what we want either. The good news is that's driven by zoning. That is not driven by the entertainment district. The entertainment district simply allows, like, just Councilor Wyatt alluded to, that it allows someone at Taco Mama to walk out and walk down to, you know, Local 49 or Homewood NC, walk along the sidewalk. It doesn't allow you it's things that are happening today. So that's kind of one of the
They
reasons.
eat at those tables out there.
That's right. And which is technically, if you wanted to go strictly by ABC license, it is illegal for them to allow someone to exit their premise to go sit at those tables today. So the way this came about for Edgewood, when it was initially brought up years ago, a couple of the business owners reached out to me concerned that was putting their license in jeopardy, and they wanted to have some protection, and this would allow it.
I have an additional question.
Counselor Gear.
So just want to be sure I understand, for Edgewood specifically, did we say that there are only 4 businesses that can carry this license?
You have to have a minimum of 4
The state
ABC
requires
licenses that are in that district.
But I think there's only 4.
So could this conceivably encourage more bars in an entertainment, in a district like this?
So the bar designation is driven by the ABC license that is held. So we can control that. So you can't have a bar in the ERD right now, the Edgewood Urban Revitalization District, as I understand it, unless they have a lounge license, because that allows you
A
not to
restaurant
have
license
food.
and a lounge license.
So the only way that you would have a bar is if they were granted the license, which would come to us. Most retail establishments carry an on-premise license. I think it's in 3. I could be wrong about the number, but that triggers an ABC review of how much food they're selling versus alcohol. And if they don't meet that threshold, they are basically not in compliance with the license. We recently had a Homewood business lose their license because they weren't compliant with the food to drink ratio.
Right, okay, so I mean, I'm just speaking for residents that I've heard from around this Markdale area. You know, we're very close, we're right across a small street, you know, the back street there, we have homes. And, you know, they're just parking lots separating this from homes. And so I'll just go ahead and generally say there's a concern. And what I understood was really our reasoning, one of the main reasons we talked about this initially related to the police department saying that we were doing things that we didn't currently have legal ability to do. And that was what we were trying to address with the entertainment districts. So my question is simply, is there any other way to carve out zones for open container outside these businesses other than, you know, this entire business district? Do we have to include the roads, the roadways? I'm not sure why a contractor, Ketchum and Company, is included. You know, I'm not sure why we went over there and grabbed them unless they just want us. I have no idea why we did that. It's a contract. It's not a.
It's currently a contractor, yes.
Yeah. So, and you know, generally speaking, the folks that are live on, at least on the Ward 1 side, I haven't talked to anybody on the other side. You know, we think, generally speaking, they think there's a pretty good mix of restaurants and bars. Don't want to do anything to encourage more. It is a really good mix, and certainly want to support the businesses that are there, but are interested in if there's another way to carve out the open container zones without doing the larger district.
So first of all, I don't think there is. But second of all, again, you're not creating an area that it may effectively allow people to walk with open containers, but the reason that those properties have to be included in it is because if they're not included in it, they can't get that license. So if you've got to include the property where the business owner is in order to get that license and to create a district, a cohesive district, you've got restaurants on both sides of the street.
Yeah, and my question is, can you just do any exterior place where people will come out and sit and drink and eat without crossing the
Again,
road and roaming around?
You got to get the property in there
Right.
in order for them to be able to get the license. So you can't just do the roadway, I guess is what I'm saying, or the sidewalk or something like that. Because they've got to be able to apply for the other kind of license.
Okay. Well, I mean, just, and no one has mentioned this to me from my ward, but I mean, this is the first I've seen a map. I don't see a reason to capture the Ketchum area. I don't know why we would do that.
I can tell you in the past, I know a restaurant that wanted to go on that property.
It may not
But
always
we
be.
can always add that later. We don't have to do it.
Well, the problem is, you add it later, you gotta go back to Montgomery to do this process again. That may not be a big deal to you, and that's fine, but everyone needs to understand what they're doing, which means starting this over is a big deal. If that property gets pulled out, I mean, I'm not on the committee can talk about whatever it wants that map to be. The way that I understand the map to have been drawn is that it's basically including the businesses that are in this section of area.
Including the gas station. So I guess you can buy a beer in there and walk out. Or they can put it in a
Yeah,
house.
No, it's a different kind of license.
That's a different license
Yeah.
altogether.
That's a different.
They don't
kind of
have an
license than a
on-premise
restaurant
license. I'm sorry. They have an on-premise only, not on-premise.
So it's just on there just to capture as a business in case for future reference.
Again, to make a cohesive area that we're not constantly having to change and go back to Montgomery about to pull stuff either in or out.
Councilor Jones?
Can I go ahead and make a motion to?
Well, I think there were some folks that had come to talk about it since.
Okay, I just want to get it on the table.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. So now we'll pause
Jones and
for.
Chris. Who was it, Jones?
Jones
No,
and
it's
Nels. Jones and Nels.
Okay, you have
Um,
someone who wants to vote?
Yes, I was gonna ask you to have a sign-in sheet.
Okay.
So for those of you that are, please stand up, and at the end of the table, we have a sign-in sheet. So we need your name and your address. And I'm gonna limit the discussion to 1 minute per person, since there seems to be 15 or 20 people here, just in case. Just give us your name.
Ryan Middleton. I live on St. Charles Street. And I brought some special guests with me tonight. My daughter Emma and Ella. And they've got two younger siblings that are at home with my wife tonight. Again, Andy, I appreciate you and Melanie. I guess for my questions that I've had today as a dad. I think Melanie brought up, you can see on the map, you can see our home here. When our family moved to Homewood, we moved, my wife and I, before we had children, we moved to Homewood to create a home, to create a family. And there are countless kids, young as my children here, that run around in all these areas behind these restaurants. Our family goes to Taco Mama. We go to Unopo. They love the ice cream store. They're waiting to go there right now. That's what they are ready to go to the ice cream store. I have a concern as a dad. And again, representing young children. For those that are not aware, there's an elementary school across the road, and there's a middle school right behind us. And then also on this street are countless churches. So we are bringing people into this area from all over Homewood. So for a dad, again, that lives one block, again, I'm here on this map, from this district, it brings concern for the public safety of our children. I have concerns for my daughters and their friends that play up and down the sidewalks, where they will be impacted by this open container policy that an entertainment district provides. Also, the businesses that are going to be attracted to this area. Again, we're going to bring people into our neighborhood when we officially go public as a city, that Edgewood is now an entertainment district that's going to bring people into our backyard with our young kids. So I would just ask that this council consider the consequences and consider our children as we make this, vote on this recommendation tonight for the children of Homewood, for those 6-year-olds and those 4-year-olds like my daughter here. Again, they don't have a voice, but as a dad trying to speak on their behalf and their safety, I commend our police officers that patrol our streets. And again, I know we haven't had problems in downtown Homewood, but this is a whole different proposition, bringing an entertainment district into a kid-friendly zone. So again, thank you for your time, Andy. Appreciate you allowing me to speak tonight.
No problem. All right, who's next?
How are you?
Doing great. I'm I'm David Kinman. I live at just down there, 212 Broadway. So the other way, about 100 yards. I would just say, like, from a public safety perspective, I think Edgewood already has problems from crossing the street. We eat Sam's every Friday night, and the latest, I almost got hit, and somebody was not yielding to the pedestrians and said, "We have a green light, doesn't go by." I think there's a number of other issues to address. I get the desire to have that open area, the patio immediately adjacent to, I don't know, okay, I get that completely. It's nice to sit outside. If we need to limit that, I get that completely. But I think there's other public safety issues that need to be a part of the conversation. The diagonal parking makes it very difficult. The road that I mentioned, the pedestrians, kids riding their bikes there all the time. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but I'm saying that a number of other public safety issues that need to be considered, maybe down the road, right? But just something specifically for the public safety committee that is absolutely a part of the consideration.
So, Mr. Kinman, good points. While some of those are not directly related to this item, they are good things that need to be addressed. And one of the items,
I would say irrespective.
yeah, I agree.
Do it or not.
Yeah. The good news is we have done an assessment of that area as part of our transportation master plan, and it has some traffic calming things that needed to be improved through there. Obviously, we have a crossing guard there in the mornings because there's a heavy volume of traffic, kids crossing the road. We re-signalized the crosswalk up at St. Charles recently to try to help slow traffic through there because it changes the light a little more frequently, especially in the mornings. But I think once we get down the road, and now that we're seeing an improvement in our financial position as a city coming out of COVID, that we'll have opportunities to take something like that transportation master plan and pick those areas we want to improve, and Edgewood being one of them. It has some really good plans for, a rearrangement of the parking, a little bit of extra parking,
Right.
and those traffic control measures that'll help slow traffic down.
And just an idea along that, like the parking lot, kind of in between Trilogy Leather and Sunshine, so I guess kind of right here. People walk from there to Taco Mama, right? They don't go, and so the area immediately in front of Saul's and New York Pizza and stuff. That's people are
Stop
in the road,
someone
like
walks straight across.
And I don't think we ought to enforce jaywalking, but kind of the.
Was that your idea?
Did you get that in? Like use crosswalks, and so there's things we can do to make it safer, but this is absolutely a part of that conversation.
All good suggestions. I think that's definitely worthy of an additional agenda item to address those things.
Great. All right, now you gotta make it.
All right, who else would like to? Please sign in and give us your name. Yes.
Yes.
Basically running about 2 minutes, so go.
On her 3108 Overton Drive. I just keep her point about the new crosswalks in that district and everything. That was to help the school crossings. And part of the reason for that those school crossings from a public safety issue will now be in the entertainment district. Okay, so that's one public safety concern, and I certainly concur with the gentleman, Mr. Middleton here that spoke about how children frequent that area after school. They hang out in that parking lot, that empty parking lot right there, and then they go over to the ice cream store, the cupcake store, the one by the construction. Parking lot there. They hang out there. The middle school kids come down there and hang out in the Dawson parking lot, walk over there to get their ice cream and cupcakes and things like that. And then to Mr. Allman's point that, there have been no issues, which was confirmed with the police department. Has the downtown district been advertised yet?
It's established.
Yeah.
People really know they can do this sort of thing yet, because I think you said, if I'm not mistaken, that the hours and all that sort of thing comes after it's
That's been settled.
implemented?
That's for
Downtown.
this.
For downtown.
Downtown's passed, has set hours, it's been in operation since it
Just as
passed.
a citizen, I've not seen anything about that district advertised.
I think it should be on our website.
I'm not sure how many people know that it's there, to your point about there being no problems yet.
Sure, which speaks to the fact that it's there. It has to be
Right.
there.
Well, and I don't think the intent is for the city to go out and promote the entertainment districts as a reason to come here. I think it's simply, from my perspective, is an opportunity to protect that business's license. So when someone walks from Soho out across Soho to the fountain, that allows them, to be legally compliant.
Or to have events like.
Yeah.
cornhole
And
tournaments.
I was gonna say my comment to the end, but to your comment about the crosswalks being in an entertainment district, the benefit is, like we just alluded to, is with the hours, we can set those hours to where in Edgewood, it starts at 5:36, whatever we want it to be. It doesn't have to be during school hours when there are children present.
Okay, and then that can be addressed later on.
Right.
When
Yeah.
there's traffic coming from Shakes to Hava to the Pig, when that strip changes in 5 years from now, 10 years from
I'm
now,
not-
or whatever.
I'm not sure what relevance that is to this topic.
So frontage of 31 there, gas stations.
It's not an entertainment district.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, it was the school crossing and Mr. Middleton's point about all the kids that hang out. That concerns me.
Thank you. All right, who's next? Please sign in, your address and name.
Nan Smith, I live at 211 Dale Avenue. Thank you for letting the public speak, and I won't take any more than a couple minutes, for sure. But my first question is, with all of the developers, Mr. Moran and others who are coming into Homewood, we are a prize, our properties are a prize. People want to be here, businesses want to be here. Does anyone on the council or related to the council have any interest, direct or indirect, in having a bar liquor license establishment in any of the entertainment districts? Anybody?
I currently own a brewery, but I can't own a retail license, so I don't.
And it's
just-
not the entertainment.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah, it's not
just in full disclosure, I own a brewery. It's not in Homewood, correct.
It's not even.
But I felt like that question was probably targeted at me, so I just wanted to lay it out there.
Or a restaurant?
Nope.
Okay, well, I have the same concerns as Mr. Middleton, as Carolyn, about the safety issue. This is the Public Safety Committee. And in the past, I've seen some things that were questionable. For instance, this is a little off topic, but the grocery group, which had issues, lost its license. And then when it came back to this committee, they said, well, we don't see any issue with it. We're not going to raise a flag or whatever. So it went on to be approved, whatever. To me, this is saying that this public safety committee is focused on development, bringing business in, and in a way, perhaps soft pedaling some things that could happen down the road. Because in my opinion, the grocery group was an issue. He violated code, he violated the code restrictions. And also a report of underage drinking at that establishment, which concerns me. Again, looking at the map, when these kids come in, they go hang out at that Chevron station. I live a block from here, I see it all the time. But if someone had an open container, can they walk to the Chevron station with it? I mean, it's in the district, so anywhere in this district, it's fair game for someone to walk around with their margarita. Or their margarita.
During certain hours. We set the hours
During
for when
certain
that happens, right? So not during like the school day or
Not
the,
during
yeah,
school.
we set it for our, we determine the hours that are gonna apply to the entertainment facilities.
I don't-
We haven't said.
We haven't set
Well, how do we know that, I mean, are you listening to us And will you take into account our concerns? Because again, we're just Edgewood. It's a family community. I love living here, but I'm concerned that sometimes personal best interest is trumping perhaps public safety.
Who's personal best interest?
I don't know.
You asked the question.
Yeah, wait,
We
I
all
guess-
live in- There's not one person in this room that has a restaurant or a bar that is opening in any of these districts. I work for Birmingham Southern, my husband's a lawyer. That's it.
And we have
Well,
a small stake in Naples and an ice cream shop.
and I answered the question, and then you went on to say that you still think that people on this council are benefiting monetarily from decisions that we make. I take offense to that.
Counselor White.
Thank you. So I just want to address something you said, that this is an attempt to pro-development or something. This, in my mind at least, it doesn't have anything to do with development. What it has to do with is the public's enjoyment of those businesses that are there, or other similar businesses if they replace those businesses or whatever. Everyone is, quite frankly, enjoying it in a way that needs this to happen. Because of those tables out front and those sorts of areas. In order for that to really, by the letter of the law, be a legal process and something that they can do without getting those businesses in trouble with their ABC license, it needs this. And so what it's really about is the public clearly enjoys doing that. And so this is about allowing the public to do that without having those businesses having to risk their license, just like they've done in Mount Brook, Vestavia, and we've done downtown and other places, so that the public can enjoy those businesses the way that they are currently and that they want to. And I would say it's far more about that and has nothing to do with any sort of development that's coming or not coming or any interest of any individual.
Thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Full disclosure, Andrew and I have a small stake in Naples, so we'll just say all of it.
But it's irrelevant. You don't even start out already. Ice cream. So,
Slanging cones.
so yeah, to the point about that as well. I don't think that any business or developer is going to look at their pro forma and add a line for entertainment district additional sales. Just, you know, from my perspective, that could be wrong. I don't think this will encourage development. Okay. Anybody else that would like to speak?
I have one other thing to say. I would like to request that we remove the Ketchum and Company property. It is not within the square, you know, it's kind of sticking out there like a sore thumb. There's a dentist office behind the spa that's also commercial, that's not included. So, you know, if we're gonna send a map to be approved, I would like to recommend taking off the Ketchum property.
So we already have a motion and a second on the table for the existing map. Does anyone want to rescind their motion or their second to make those adjustments? Okay, so anybody else that would like to speak, please sign in and give us your name and address.
To her point, what is?
Can you give us your name and address? please?
Amelia Jones, 1007 Homewood. What is the point? Like, who drew this map that jutted out my Ketchum? I mean, I'm not opposed to this, but I don't understand this.
So,
Our,
well, I mean, I can tell you, and it was, the idea is,
Something I don't know.
I think that's the confines of Bird.
so the idea was, generally, we're dealing with businesses on Oxmoor Road, for the most part, or just on Oxmoor Road. That is a business that's on Oxmoor Road. Not currently, but if something changes with that, then to add them to it, we would then have to start this whole entire process over, go to Montgomery, come back. They can be included in it and not serve alcohol. That's not, just like the cars. But that was the idea, was it's a business on Oxmoor Road within this general area.
Isn't there a church right next door? Why did you ask a church?
Because we didn't include churches anywhere.
Well, I mean, it just.
Yeah, I think there's part of Clarksville's down a little bit farther. Sure, across the street, there are, yes.
It's not about the departments, it's about the adjoining houses. Again, I told you, we can see.
If you want, if you were.
My kids do not come inside of my house at 5 o'clock. I lock them up. They are roaming all around this area. This is a different district than these other districts that we've been talking about. There's homes all around these businesses.
Can you say that again? I didn't hear you, but who was roaming around? I'm sorry.
His kids.
My
his
kids, I don't
kids.
want my kids up, I know we're talking about, we can set times.
I was just asking.
Right, from 5 to 10 or wherever that is, but my kids don't all the kids around the neighborhood don't all come inside the house at 5 o'clock. I would ask, how many council members live within a couple of blocks of this district? Now, I think you're 13 minutes away, Andy.
13 minutes?
A 13-minute walk to
Oh,
this area.
yeah, but
My kids are a 1-minute walk.
my children walk through there every day walking home from school by themselves. I understand where you're coming from. I really do. I'm trying to figure the best way to put this. I mean, I trust my 10-year-old daughter to walk home with my 7-year-old daughter, and I give her the leeway to make good decisions in that respect. Walking home, she knows she has certain times to get there, and we time those things. She goes down to the candy store, the gas station, all the time. And we just put controls in place of it, where she's doing, what she's doing, and where she's at. But I'm just giving you my perspective as a father of girls too.
The problem here is the people from outside that we're going to attract into this district. And I realize we haven't got the advertisement going for downtown.
We're not gonna advertise it.
Well, again, word will get out eventually that it's an open container, kind of atmosphere that we're creating. It's going to attract new businesses. What we're saying as a city, again, is that our kids don't matter. Again, we need to show there's an elementary school within a few blocks here. Elementary school. Again, we're all adults. And again, I'm fine with people that want to enjoy an alcoholic beverage at a restaurant. But we should not put that on our kids and on our teenagers. Again, I can see the parking lot where I see teenagers congregate on this map here.
Yeah.
And we're encouraging something inside of our city that I don't see public safety with any of this proposal. Again, downtown Homewood is different. There are no residents besides people living in condos that live in downtown.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this item? Yeah, please sign in, give us your name and address, please.
Robbie Patel, I'm on 616 Bristol Lane, so that's in West Homewood. I'm not really speaking as to whether I'm opposed or for this. I really want some more information. That's what I'm here for. This is presented to the state. What's the opportunities for more entertainment districts down the road? This is it. This is the end all.
Without going back to the state, starting this process over.
And the likelihood of getting more entertainment districts from the state after we submit this.
Irrestricted.
You have to have a minimum of 4 businesses with licenses. So there's nowhere else in the city that has that same configuration.
There are a couple, but that's what I'm asking. I mean, I'm asking, so, like, what's the likelihood of going back to the state and saying, hey, give us a 4? Is it gonna be harder?
Or we can't.
Or is it kind of like that deal, go there, get what you want? You may not, it'll be harder to get it down the road.
So like what we're doing here, any additional entertainment district requires legislative approval from Montgomery. So if we did any past this, once it turns green, it'll be good. If these go to Montgomery and get passed, any additional district would also have to go to Montgomery with a map attached and come back before we could even act on it. Just because these go to Montgomery and get approved doesn't mean that they'll necessarily be enacted. They'll be back and available for
No, so
action.
you're not understanding my question. My question was, assuming that you go and get these 2 now, down the road, if you went for a 4, these would be 3, right? You go down the road to get separate 4. Is it harder, easier or the same to get forward?
I don't think it affects it.
If
you're asking how will Montgomery proceed?
Yes.
As far as I know, it won't.
It won't affect that
You would need to
process.
ask them. It would depend on who's down there at the time and when we're talking about things like that. But
before we do this, shouldn't we ask that question?
Well, I don't expect that it's going to have any effect on it whatsoever.
Okay, well, I mean, that's really my concern here is because I feel like there are other opportunities.
Let me answer it this way. Nothing about doing this prohibits or encourages doing another one in the future. This is about these two.
Or disadvantages doing another
Exactly.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No, nothing one way or the other.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing this and I've been thinking about this for a while now. I see I don't want to kick up a hornet's nest, but I just want to make sure this issue is either being thought of or addressed by this council over the coming months. You know, I see the work that's being done on Green. I'm happy for it, right? But understand, I've been here a long time. We've seen work being done on Green Springs in '93, in '99, in 2003, in 2005, 2007, right? Nothing's changed. Reality is nothing's really changed on Green Springs, despite all that money and work.
I think Green Springs looks great.
It really hurt my feelings.
I think it looks great. I don't agree.
Yeah, Mr. Patel, if you could, if you could bring, we're not discussing Green Springs, if you could bring it back to.
I'll just say briefly that from the beginning of the conversation, when it was first introduced, it was these three areas were always spoken. No other areas have been spoken about. These are the only things we consider and discuss in any kind of capacity. And so just so you know that it's not that there
Right,
is a.
and what I'm trying to say here is that if there's opposition to this, there's no neighborhoods adjutting Green Springs Avenue, from Raleigh to Oxmoor Road. That's basically the intersection of East and West Homewood, right? For all intents and purposes, East and West Homewood, that's where they meet. You have 3 or 4 arterials reaching into each side of Homewood. Wouldn't that be an appropriate place to place an entertainment district like this? Have the work that's going on Green Springs, which I don't disagree. I like. I think it's gonna be pretty. I think it's also going to reduce the number of traffic, which means that it's going to be harder for retailers to survive in the coming months, especially after COVID.
Just like clarify, you're proposing potentially Green Spring as an entity district.
From Raleigh to Oxford.
That's all.
And yes, I am. I'm saying if there's opposition here, I'm not opposed to entertainment districts. What I'm saying is, why don't we make this a connectivity thing? It's going from downtown. If you are trying to promote businesses, walkability, patrons, of residents to go around in that area, that's what we're doing in Green Springs. Why are we not including that in this overall plan? And has there been output towards that?
No neighborhood there.
Right, well,
There is, there are
actually,
neighborhoods that
walked
abut
it-
Green
I
Springs,
walked it
the
a
people in
couple of
Columbiana
times.
would look
So-
right at the back of Publix.
So from
Patel, so it's the Schnarr's property.
from New York Pizza, basically, you know, if you walk on New York Pizza, there's a place where you have the cul-de-sac. It's a no entry, headed west on Oxmoor Road. There's a no entry cul-de-sac. You've all seen it, right? If you come out, if you go on that back road right there, you come right out on Palisades Boulevard.
Sure.
That's it. It's a half a mile, 4/10 of a mile. I measured, right? You can come up. You can come out on Broadway, walk up to Raleigh, right? There's a lot of residences close by that can walk and still have a buffer between their home where their children play and where people are out, having a drink, walking around, things like that. You have 5-foot sidewalks there, street lamps, well lit. You have anyway. I just want to make sure that's being addressed by this council.
Thank you.
Just quick follow up on that, from Mr. Patel's comments. That's why I was asking to the Councilor Gwaltney earlier about that, about what is the edge of a business district before we had the map for this meeting, because I have heard some interest in a potential consideration of an entertainment district as part of revitalization of Green Springs as well. There's some property where you could do something that maybe have like a common space and kind of program the space and actually passive things where as Green Springs becomes more bicycle friendly. Again, we now have progressed with this to where we actually have a map, and that's what we're discussing tonight. But I did just want to acknowledge that, I mean, I think it's, something to consider as far as a vision for Green Springs going forward. What
I
is
agree.
that vision?
I agree. I would not want to, personally, I would not want to see connectivity between those, in my opinion, because, do you want? I just don't want to see people leaving one entertainment district and walking to another, right? I think that opens itself up for that, unintended consequences. All right, anybody else want to stand up and speak to this topic?
Call the question.
Okay, we have a motion to call the question. So we had a motion and a second on the floor. I believe you wanted to rescind your motion.
Yes.
Okay, so we no longer have a motion and a second on the floor table. So we're back in
You have a
discussion.
motion, you're not-
We have a motion. Is there a second
To the original motion.
to the original motion for the existing map?
Yeah, she was the second.
Okay.
That's right. You were the
Yeah,
second.
and mine was just because I wanted to.
She wanted to
Just go
accommodate
ahead and just do away with that little jut out.
the catchment
To
company.
catch it under. So James still has a motion, so we don't need it.
Okay, so with there being no second, the motion dies. Is there a new motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to accept this map without the catchment company jut out the map to cut it off.
The St. Charles.
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion on the table to
For both maps.
we're just doing, or approving both maps.
That's what I'm just asking. It's for both.
But the only modification will be to remove the catchment company.
That's what I'm asking. But I'm saying that the motion is for both maps.
Correct, yes. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve the maps as they exist, except for the Edgewood map being modified to exclude the catchment company parcel. Second.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor Harden. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Councilor Jones, single nay. The motion carries 4-1. All right, there are no other items under the Public Safety Committee meeting agenda. We are adjourned.